Wow, that's it. So quick from the analyst desk, who are a wordy bunch, into the Blast TV post-show. Welcome to Blast Overtime. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Mahone from the Mahone Zone. You know him, now bringing the live segments from the Mahone Zone to the post-show. And tabseN, I want to say just first of all, I appreciate you doing this. Of course, it's not the best situation, dude. Of course, you'd love to do it on a win, but we can't always choose our wins and losses, can we?
Absolutely. Job needs to be done. So happy still to be here.
What can we talk about when it comes to the match? Because I think that's, I feel like, a good place to start. When I was thinking about you and BIG last year, for example, it was so unfair when I was thinking about all the moments in time where you had roster changes, where you had to deal with an unsettled roster into a break, into the roster you want. Did you have enough time that you feel like you had all 5 of your players to prepare for, to get ready for this year?
To be fair, we had a longer break than most teams. Yeah, we expected to also perform obviously a little bit better here. But to be fair, we didn't have so bad results. We had 2 times 16-14 on Mirage, which we both could have won. Inferno obviously is one of our worst maps, and teams understand that we don't have the best understanding on the map. Yeah, I would say still we are getting the right path. We are trying to have a more consistent way of playing, which it's at the moment more likely that people that don't really know what to do at a certain time, especially in pressure situations.
How do you handle that? Like with all the roster situations that you've had where new people coming in, coming out, like what's the process like of trying to integrate them back into the team?
Yeah, for me personally, it was always important that the core of the team is ready to play. Doesn't matter with who exactly, so they know exactly how the system works around and the timings which they need to use and stuff like that. But at the moment we changed 2 big parts, like faveN and Sin were always coming in. Zerson for the last event was not here as well. So basically we just try to implement new things as well and try to have so stable system where people can rely on.
When you think about your roster from your perspective as the IGL, who is the core of the team when it comes to the most high fragging output? I don't want to phrase this because Crimbo coming in and faveN coming in were 2 players who were the best German players to not be on BIG. And then when they came into the team, they've now been incorporated to the roster. But the level of yourself, the level of CSGO sometimes outshines them. So from your perspective as a caller, who are the kind of 3 players that you expect to have the most output?
Yeah, obviously it's myself. I need to be really consistent. It's the AWP, Zerson, and at the moment it's Crimbo. I personally rely a lot on him based on information he's giving me and also how he presents himself on the server. For example, like in the clutch situations, we put him especially put himself on clutch situations where he can shine the most. But it's really hard to play against the best teams in the world. They can punish you for a lot of mistakes which not happen in practices and stuff. And obviously, if he's not really experienced, he will get there, he will do better, and hopefully the core around the core, basically like Kito and faveN, have more stability, also more confidence around the system as well.
That was one thing that for sure at least went right on Inferno. When it came down to the final moments of a round, Crimbo was the guy who was last alive, and he plays clutches so well, like almost always optimally, even from our perspective with full vision and everything. He's making the right moves. But Inferno is a map that you guys aren't comfortable on right now, but you've also allowed it into the veto a couple of times here at the spring groups. So what can you tell us about how much you're going to play it this year, how much you've tried to fix it so that you're feeling comfortable on it? Where do you stand with Inferno?
Yeah, it's easy to say. We at the moment are playing 7 maps. We just try to ban the best map from the enemies, and we just try to get the most out of every map. And at the moment, if teams are playing Inferno against us, we just try to do the best, basically. We don't have really good preparation on it. We just try to get some experience on it, some decent level on it as well. And yeah, hopefully we will be better at a certain time. But other than that, yeah, we will see which map we are going to ban, because at the moment we also give Ancient a shot.
Yeah.
The map has changed, and we are trying to figure out what's good on the map, how it fits to us, and then we will see what we will ban.
I've got a slightly more specific question just on Inferno. Okay. When you guys are playing CT side, not a lot of deep banana control. It doesn't seem like most of the time you've thrown a lot of nades back from the site or tried to get HE damage off. What is the stylistic reason that you've decided to not try to fight? Is it too scrappy playing down banana, or
Usually our play style is depending on the deep banana control, but yeah, obviously in practice people are not really fighting for it as well so much. So in official games it's a little bit different. You get more naded, you get more outsmarted maybe by some flashes, some movements and stuff. So it's getting a little bit harder to play on official games Inferno. But in the end, Inferno for me personally is just about handling the situation. Either you are passive, you need to handle the situation, they execute on you, pop on you, or they contact on you, you need to have a good anti-contact setup, for example. But the fights, they can go either way. It's basically on banana, it's like chess basically. You need to understand what they are throwing, how many people are there, especially now with the dropping grenades, you don't really know how much people are there. But it's all about informations and all about also confidence plays, in my opinion, in our team.
Would you say that like banana, I've heard this before, that fighting for banana in an official is actually a lot down to prep, like understanding like if the opponents like to take banana control a lot, then it's like, okay, we're gonna play this way, or if they're really passive, then we're gonna play this way. Does that factor into like the kind of way you fight banana?
Yeah, 100%. I believe it's 100% the way. At the moment, we have a style which is not really the best, I would say, since like we are playing default, for example, on the map, and then we say, yeah, they are doing this, okay, let's do this, and then we are one step behind. Yeah. And basically, if you know what they are doing, then it's easier to prepare on it and also easier to adapt on it. But if you're playing in the middle of the round, everything can happen and it can go either way. It's a little bit also based on luck, I would say, since we are not really prepared what is happening before, let's say, in the round.
We can take this to Mirage. We've got some highlights from the map, or a clip from Mirage that we can talk about. And this is a map that obviously 16-14, you guys pulled up both pistols, got the conversions, but it came down to the wire. You had the really strong start in both halves as well, but towards the end of the half, that's when things went sour. From your perspective, why did you lose Mirage?
In the beginning, we had everything under control, but at some point I think they played decent Counter-Strike. Since in the beginning, Hedrick was playing a lot of window, he was not fighting for the mid control. We got it way easier, and we abused the sides more often in the beginning. But at the end, they played also more heavy side-oriented. For example, like the first equipment rounds, Roland was alone in A, and then at some point he used 2 Molotovs to pretend maybe there are more. And yeah, we should have focused more on mid-control, playing the rounds more slowly, getting more information out of it, and then just split A or B, or leave one in the middle and then go back to the other side and have more firepower on the sides. But in the end, we just tried to play our game plan, which was in my head, getting mid-control easier, try to find and use also the sides, since they also obviously had a setup where AWP is, for example, B, they have double short, and we tried to figure it out and abuse it at some point. But they adapted really well, I would say, and they fought also really good mid.
Yeah, I think in the first 5 rounds, like you mentioned, lots of early mid control. There was no one there. So when they started to respond with their own mid control, what was the thought process going through your head?
Yeah, obviously, for me personally, it's not the easiest. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing to read if people are good on the map, since like it's a common tactic on CT side where you molly behind boxes, get 2 flashes, get the mid information, then you know mid is clear, then you rotate towards the side. So it was. We didn't play like we did in the practices where we normally just wait it out and they had mid control after. It's also basically, yeah, it's also in my head sometimes where I feel like, hey, they might be getting mid control really early. We can abuse it on the sides now, or we just play more our way and we just say, hey, they have mid control, okay, then let's still take the control and we know they have it, so we use more manpower. But yeah, I think I didn't call the very best in the end of the Mirage. And yeah, I can take it on my shoulders.
Well, towards the end of the first half, you had won the last couple of rounds and you closed out with some really good mid rounds. So we've actually got a team speak moment we can listen to and then talk about after we listen to it.
Ja, mach mal Smoke. Flash OP über.
Ich warte noch
Wege
kurz.
Mollot.
Nach dem Molly flash ich.
Ja,
Ja,
Küche geschossen.
Ne, mach mal jetzt, das ist so richtig
Flash
billig aussehen noch.
Flash
Genau.
kommt.
Jetzt kommen. Der ist gejumpt, der hat mich gesehen. Das Ticket
Ich hab
weggejumpt.
Silent
A ist
Drop
frei,
gemacht.
glaube ich.
Ich hab Silent Drop Flow.
Beide
In dem
mit
Window.
Der A-Spieler ist Dings
Okay,
reingejumpt.
dann müssen wir
Ticket.
A-Split gehen. Lass uns.
Ich fällt nochmal B jetzt.
Nein, wir brauchen
Und
deine
ich-
Smoke einfach, um rechts Smoke
Ich renn
Renegades
mit
zu machen.
euch.
Ja, lass rennen.
Habt ihr noch einen Follow Flash für kurz CT? gleich. Ich flash Base Rische. Ja. Flash kommt.
AWP vor Küche
Kurz
und einer
gelöscht.
kurz. Kurz, vor
Ist er?
Window.
Flash Base kommt nochmal.
Kurz einer.
Letzter kurz.
Ladder.
Nice.
Nice.
Sehr
Oh,
geil.
sorry.
Ja, ist so okay. Wir adaptieren halt darauf, ja? Das war sehr gut.
Control, and we knew what we can do. For example, we had ladder control, we parked someone in jungle, and it's easier to call and play the round like that. But yeah, in this round, I tried to play this round way earlier in the beginning of the half, where we had one smoke left. I wanted to do top con smoke, window smoke, let them think where we go, and end with one smoke. But unfortunately, we used the last smoke as well to pressure somewhere else, and I needed to adapt. That's why I said also in the end of the game, we needed to adapt because it was not how we used to play. But yeah, it's a little bit chaotic in the end, and we try to also like maintain calm situation, calm communication. But yeah, if everyone is on the same page, we had some good reads. We knew one could be A somewhere aggressive, hiding or somewhere, and we took the right hole. And yeah, and like it was kind of good that we pressured also cheap B because he was rotating from A towards B. We almost caught him off guard. Yeah.
How do you handle like canceling in those type of situations? Because that's something that I noticed that with like newer IGLs, like they're uncomfortable with canceling. Like sometimes they just have a plan, and as soon as it goes through, they're just like, or as soon as it starts to get a little bad, they're not willing to like be, okay, no, we actually need to pull it back. How do you handle that, or how do you develop that skill?
This is obviously also really important based on information what the players give you. Like if they, for example, let's say that we want to split B and they know they pushed up the ramp, so you play against 3 or 4 people on B, then obviously you need to have a backup plan. And the backup plan can be based on preparation before the game, let's say in practices before. So if something goes wrong, you have only one plan, what's the backup plan? But for me personally, when I call something and something goes wrong, I give myself a little bit more time and just think about what's the best solution for you. And if my team understands that I need some time, then obviously the best job to do is not dying, because if someone dies, then I need to rethink again what's the best solution here. But yeah, sometimes it works out, sometimes I also make a bad plan, and I would say also when the backup plan is coordinated well enough, rather than the speed is important, then it always looks kind of good.
We've got to actually...
That's like, yeah. I was going to production. I am going to pull up this clip here. So this match was from a couple of days ago when you played against G2, and it's also on Mirage as well, but it kind of illustrates this canceling thing. So I'm first going to kind of just go over it, like just the basics of the round, and kind of give my thoughts on what I think happened, and you can kind of chime in later. So what we're going to see in this round here, it looks like initially what you guys have planned here is, looks like you guys, oh God, this is where it gets a little...
It's the Mahone zone, ladies and gentlemen, live.
Oh God, no, I knew this was going to be a problem. Okay. I'm just gonna not zoom. What we're gonna see here is that on the radar, it looks like you have 2 people towards that A side. It looks like they're gonna fake. And then the idea of what you guys are trying to do here is you guys are gonna try to come out mid from the rotation, right? But what we see here is that as you guys kind of get ready to do that, they push mid, you guys punish it. And then right when that happens, it looks like you guys cancel. And then you guys have this decision where you can either go back towards A, go back towards B. You guys ultimately decide to go back towards A. And you guys kind of do like this little creep pop kind of thing where you guys kind of creep out, you throw the top con smoke, and it's really like an interesting strat where, you know, some people might question, why didn't you just exec in a 5v4 instead of just, you know, creeping out like this? So this is basically the round. You also throw some really good flashes here towards jungle, catches JKS off guard, helps your players kind of come in and path towards sandwich. And that's basically the round. You guys have kind of shut them out with the smoke and the Molotov. So my first question here, when we look at this round is, first of all, did you guys actually know that G2 was going to play aggressively? Because I saw that both of you guys were playing anti-flash.
Yeah, I knew they had low money and they needed to maybe take a risk.
Okay.
And for me, the best anti-push setup is basically Op is in, like on top, you see it on the radar as well. He's just holding, we have both anti-flash, we don't need to peek since Op is peeking, and we punish every aggressive move. Okay. And on top, after, I didn't expect to let them push top middle, but I knew from the game flow that they could notice that we are playing only with 2 top middle, which we are not really so aggressive. Like we didn't rush out middle, we were not behind boxes. We were kind of passive in this area all the time. So maybe they will punish us with.
Okay, so in this situation, why did you decide to go A instead of B here?
that's for me. When he's pushing up middle, he's not doing it by himself. So one flashed for him. One obviously can be aggressive short to hold him under pass, and one is giving the flash. So for me, basically, there are 3 people middle. We killed one guy. There could be one short and one somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter where you go. It's just about the coordination. But for me personally, when I see the round right now, like we killed him 135 or something, and I said like, hey, let's go back, let's go directly A, and it took like maybe 25 seconds. So for me, it was like, hey, they will stay a little bit longer for sure. In middle, we can sneak out. But when I look at it now, it took like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
They could have been on A, they could have been on B. So,
And
yeah.
no, it's
you'd
good
like
to
to-
know.
Oh, yeah.
I got one more last question right here. Why did you guys decide to do this creep instead of like a pop with a flash, or instead like maybe some A exec or something like that? Because to me, it kind of feels like this is like a perfect counter to their reaction here, which is to actually push up mid. Because if you do an exec or something like that, they're going to rotate real fast. But for you creeping out, that's like seems like the perfect move. Why'd you decide to do it this way instead of the other ways?
Yeah, I knew, as I said in the beginning, that they have not so much money, so there's not likely an AWP on CT, for example, which can punish us in that way. And I like in this kind of situation to have more firepower in front than, for example, people executing from behind. And especially what could have happened here as well, in the beginning of the round, where we wanted to fake A, they knew exactly also where we are. We shot with 3 people in top middle, and at the same time, one threw one smoke, how do you say it, like it's not on purpose.
Fake?
No,
Or-
like the English word, like he was not,
Accidentally, you mean?
accidentally.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He did it accidentally, and so we knew that there are 4 people basically on the map right now. Yeah, and then I just told my teammates, hey, don't execute it. It's not needed. They have not so much money. Just have some firepower and trades.
You used a term there earlier, called game flow, and
Yeah.
I suppose that's just reading the patterns of what you see in the match. So how do you balance it out with the preparation for the team you know versus the team that they're showing today when you're calling?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's always depending on how the communication is going, how the pressure feels like, how the temperature of the communication feels. Like sometimes the game feels really heated, even though it's like kind of going our way. So I try not to anti-strat or anti-play a lot about the enemies, even though we have really good preparation. But I try to focus always on our system, on our rounds, which we are really good at, which we can rely on, and people always know what we did in practices, so they can feel what's good for them as well. But obviously, sometimes if I have a good read and I have a good feeling, then I can also do some mid-round calling, which we saw also in the last round on Mirage. We never played like that in practice, and this is something which, if my teammates feel like, hey, you have something under control, then we don't also take the risk to die or do something like that. So it's also like a skill which we all need to understand, and sometimes we talk about it, sometimes also Gob takes a time out and says, hey, don't do anything if tabseN has everything under control, just listen to him and do it carefully, blah, 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 and then it works out at some point, yeah.
I got a question since you mentioned Gob B. You've had a lot of coaches in your time with Big, like Toby, Dude, even Legia, all the way back then. Like, what would you say is the thing that you've kind of taken the most from them, especially since you were like a player who turned IGL? What's the thing that all these coaches have kind of given you?
Yeah, for me personally, it's Gob is one of the best individually based coach. Like he can make someone really individually wise really good. For me, Toby, for example, he gave me a lot of tactical side of view for a system where people can rely on something based on just what we know. He always said like, hey, doesn't matter what they know, you can show them what we have, but if you do it in a good way and you do it also confident, then they can know it. You still have your answers based on even if they know it. And you play with open hands, so to speak. And yeah, for example, Legia was for me a really motivated coach. He always gave like good motivation power for the players, also for myself. And this was a good mix of everything. And for me, right now, we try to find a good system which we can rely on also with Gob. Since I believe, as I said, he was also as a player very, very good individually wise. Maybe not the best aiming wise. He had really good aiming, but how to handle certain situations and pressure situations or in general, like with equipment. For me personally, when I just think about the game on Mirage as CT, we needed to win this game with just equipment on CT side. Like they threw, for example, I can just count it down if you want, because they threw 2 top mid window smoke in the start, window molotov, connector molotov or something. So they have 3 smokes left, and they don't really take control of it. So they just wait out of it, and then they take mid control after. They do top con and window smoke, so they have 1 smoke left. And if you are able to just wait out the first 2 smokes with whatever check flashes, bodies and stuff, you still have 3 or 4 smokes to block the 2 other smokes at the end of the round. And which I tried to do in the end of the game, but they did a really good call, I must admit, because Bolan was close ramp, we checked flash ramp, he was not blind, he killed Quito, and I expected him to do an A split, since it was like 35 seconds, 40 seconds. It's unlikely that someone is so late in ramp if you are not really going A. And in the end, they also split a B with, I think Hampus did a really good job there with 2 D one-shots or whatever. So yeah, this is my opinion where people can get better with help from God B, since he's really good individually, especially with equipment and handling situations.
Okay, I got one other question. So something that your team is obviously known for, I think all broadcast people and even teams, they all know that you're really innovative with nades. You always got something new. I know even for myself personally, whenever I watch a big demo, I always feel like I learned 1 new nade from you guys. So I actually want to show a compilation of some of the unique nades that we've seen from Big over this time. So production, cut it over. So this one here, I think you guys are the only team I've seen throw this particular smoke. And this might be from a while ago, but I kind of wanted to ask, so this smoke first lands towards CT spawn to kind of like provide like some sort of barrier where if you wanted to kind of, sneak through the murder hole and go through kitchen, it would provide that protection. Now my question is, how do you guys come up with a smoke like this?
This typical smoke is also called Toby smoke.
Okay,
Really?
We came
Okay.
up with
There's
that
the clue.
idea. Yeah.
Really?
But I used it smoke today as well in the last round against NIP.
Yeah,
where
Robin walked
Faven-
through it.
Yeah, he walked through it and killed, I think, Hedrick in CT spawn.
Yeah.
It's something really nice, especially in the later of the rounds, where maybe they have like a default setup where 2 are B, 1 is around jungle, and 2 are towards A. You do a lot of pressure if you, for example, do top con smoke and this smoke. The jungle guy needs to always look window, look top con, and he has a hard situation to play.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to utilize.
Okay.
If you don't have the control, it's hard to utilize.
Even in this example, like I think I didn't show it obviously, but it's like you obviously called for it because you're in window.
Yeah.
But I got another one. We got 2 more here. So this one, I've never seen anyone throw this one either. It's the Molotov towards top mid, and then this smoke here, which is kind of like the old Astralis
smoke, yeah.
Yeah, but you throw it from short. So who came up with this, and like how did you guys think of this exactly?
Oh, and the molly,
This
so you get the perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is something also I didn't really notice. Like I came once to the TeamSpeak and they said, "Hey, look at this, what we have." And I was like, what? Okay, very nice. But I believe our analyst came up with that idea with Gob as well. I think they saw it somewhere and they tried to replicate it, and we just tried to make it a little bit better. That, for example, our B guy was using it, not our short guys who have more firepower to play with it around. But yeah, sometimes also we copy some things from Reddit, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the cool part about that, because Astralis used to throw it out of spawn.
Yeah.
But then it was really hard to get it because of the running throw. And back then there was no lineup perfect running throws.
But it's not working anymore.
Yeah, it's not working anymore. And now you get the molly with it, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the last one I think is the most impactful one on the pro scene. It's the window smokes. I feel like you guys are the first team I saw at a tier 1 level actually use the instant window smokes, the ones straight from spawn. Now, I have sources that tell me that this has been in the German scene for a while, but you guys didn't introduce it until like 2020. So,
Wait, hold on a second. I've been calling these the Fnatic smokes.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
But sometimes I just attach it random.
So, do you know the origin of the smoke? Like how this come about?
Yeah, absolutely. Like these kind of window smokes, spawn smokes, they are created by, I don't know who did it, but at some point we also played like German League in Face It. And whenever I played Mirage, I was like connector window guy. I always said, I'm smoked off. It's so annoying to play it. Like you don't really need to go window, you are smoked off anyways. And sometimes even they are throwing it twice. So if you want to moll it, there's another one coming right after.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, at some point I realized that it's really strong to just use it and take mid control. You either need to use a Molotov to fight for it, or you just have the control. And yeah, it's really hard to play around it, and it's a good smoke. It's a German smoke for sure.
Yeah.
When's the first time you encountered that? What year? Do you remember?
What year?
Yeah.
I believe 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even 2018, like in the very beginning, where Faceit came up with an idea to create the German League, and there were like German semi-pro players, and they always threw Insta window, and they call it like Sabino or Thorsten, some random German names, where they have the spawns, and then based on the spawns, they have like the names for it.
Okay.
Interesting.
And then you have obviously spawns where the Molotov cannot get denied, like the smoke cannot get denied. So
Yeah.
it's a good idea.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. First of all, again, because, you know, coming in this situation, we would love to have you in on a win, but lots of great knowledge there for the fans at home. Thank you guys for all tuning in on Blast TV to watch this post show. We're going to have overtime every night of the week, so make sure to come back here right after the analysts are done closing out, because we'll be back a minute after that. Thank you so much for watching, and to everybody, good night.